Hello there, I'm Rebecca Osborne, I'm an artist and I've come to show you the Winsor & Newton range of markers. So first of all I'd like to show you the Pro Markers, and the Pro Marker is an alcohol based marker, it's dye based and it has two different nibs. So I'll show you first of all the circular end has the chisel tip, and that gives you a variety of marks you can make with this, but at the other end you have a fine point for doing more detailed work. Okay, and currently Hobbycraft have 11 different sets of both the Pro Marker and its companion, which is called the Brush Marker. The Brush Marker has a brush end, I'll show you that in a minute, and there'll be more range coming in October, so a lot more colours coming in October. So the colours are really beautiful colours. They're kind of translucent, which allows you to layer up. So if I take that same colour again and I start working on top, you can see you can achieve darker results. And this layering technique is great for getting shadow in if you're just using one marker. Okay, the paper that I'm using today is the Winsor & Newton Pro Marker pad, and it looks like this. Okay, this is the A3 size. It also comes in A4 size as well. So just put that down there. And it's a coated paper which stops the ink from bleeding through to the other side. And so you need to work on the top surface and not on the underneath surface. But as you'll see, it comes through to the back but doesn't bleed onto the page beneath. Can you see that? Yeah, okay. So one top tip for working with this type of paper is that you can actually do your pencil lines on the reverse side of the paper, and then that way you can rub out your pencil lines afterwards. A lot of artists who work with alcohol-based markers will know that usually your pencil marks get trapped beneath your marker, so you can't do that. So I'll just do you a quick demo of that. So I'm just going to fold that over and I'll just draw a little circle on this side. And I can see that through because there's a bit of transparency to the paper. So I can then apply any colours I like to this side. So say the pink, which is quite a pale colour. And then if I want to afterwards, so I've got that as a guideline, I can rub that out. So that's a really handy tip that we can use. Okay, I'm going to show you a bit of blending now. So the Pro Marker and Brush Marker has a blender pen, and the blender has this gradiated colour on the side. That's how we know it is. Also, that's on the end of it as well. So all the markers have their colours indicated on the end, so you can see which one you're reaching for. I like to lay the blender underneath and then blend on top. Blending works best if the pen is still wet, so you have to be quite quick. So I'm going to take both ends off just to show it really clearly. Okay, so the blender, it's the same liquid as in all the other pens but without the dye. So you won't really see a colour, but you might be able to see that the paper's wet. Okay, so I'll lay some of that down, pop down some yellow, and then if I go back into it, you should start to see that blend in nicely. And if I want to do two different colours, let me just clean off the nib, like so. So again, I'll lay down this. And some colour, which I can then blend. And then if I took, say, a red one onto the top, and again with the blender, so I can get that nice range of colour there. And again, just clean off to the side. So that's how the blender pen works. Okay. Another top tip, because of the translucency of the paper, is I can actually lay original drawing work underneath, or perhaps a colouring book if you've got something you want to work from, and you can actually trace through. So it's not quite as thin as a tracing paper, but it does have that effect as well. What we can do once we get our image on the paper is we can actually use different things to create depth and shadow and highlights as well. So with regards using the Pro Marker, if I lay down some colour and I want to apply shadow, like I showed you, we can layer. So if I come this way, you'll start to see me creating a darker, deeper red. But I could also choose a different colour to accent and add shadow. So by adding different colours, I can achieve different effects. And that would work well if I was drawing fabric, perhaps a dress with the drapes, or perhaps a petal of a flower. So let me just do you a quick petal of a flower. And I'm going to work with red and pink on this, I think. So as I pop the pink on and the red to both tips like this, I can actually use the pink itself to blend those colours in together and to give a bit of a three-dimensional look to it. And we just use the blender to just move the middle part around as well. And then if I wanted to create extra depth at the end, I will go with this blue again. So I can take the blue as my darkest colour to both ends to create more of a three-dimensional effect. I'll take the pink just to blend that in as well. So that's how I would work, using different colours layering on top to create those effects and those shadows. If I want to create highlights, it's not something that I can do using the Pro Markers, but I can use a white pencil or perhaps a gel pen on top to create those effects. So I've got a little charcoal pencil here. I'm going to just pop some highlights onto here so you can see. So that would mean you could use perhaps pencils that you already have in your art box to create these highlights, and you can do that on top of here as well, just to get the real highlighted area of that petal. Also, a white paint pen or gel pen you can use to create effects on the top. So if I pop some little spots on here, you can see, and perhaps some veins or lines on our petal just to give extra highlight. So in a similar way you would with watercolour or even on acrylic, if you want to add those highlights in with a white afterwards. So if I don't want to blend my colours directly on my work, perhaps I've got a small area that I want to mix a colour for, I can actually make a palette to the side of my work and I can mix my colour there and apply it where I'd like to. So I'm going to mix up two colours just now. So we're going to mix up some of the yellow and we're going to mix the red as well, and we'll create a nice orangey colour. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate them on the paper first so you get to see what they're like. So beautiful strong colours. There's your red and yellow. And then if we take that blender pen, we can actually blend these colours over here on our little palette. And this colour here, I can just pop it where I want to. So that's a colour we've created ourselves, and we could maybe use it if we wanted to in a tiny area of our work. And to clean, we just need to work until the pen goes back to clean again. Okay, so I'm going to do a little flower demonstration for you now using the Pro Markers. And what's nice about the Pro Markers, because it's got a sort of translucency to the ink, we can really work over the top of it and still see the colours beneath and get the nice effects blending. So lots of different mark making opportunities. You can do a little bit of blending there, and I can use both ends of this to create dappled effects. So this is going to be the centre of our flower. And I can build up the density of the colour by using some reds into there as well. And blending that with our orange. Okay. And I'm going to do this purpley petal. So building up our petals. This is just a really simple, quick sketch for you. Obviously you would take a lot longer than me. And I'm trying to create highlights on our petals so it's darker into the centre of the flower, and then they're going to have a sort of three-dimensional quality. Okay, I'll pop some of this pink on as well. There. And the Pro Marker is a marker that's used a lot by students doing design work because they're so quick and such lovely colours. So it's great for doing fashion illustration, 3D rendering, landscape architecture. If you're doing a nice plan of a garden, you can put in trees and flowers. Okay. So as I'm putting down this another layer of the purple, let's build in even darker colours. And I'll go back with the pink again. I tend to use a chisel a lot, but the fine point is really helpful as well. And then what I'd like to do now is I'd like to put in some leaves. Let's put a couple of leaves in. So. These are great for taking out for sketching out and about, for doing live drawing out and about if you're drawing city sketches or out in the countryside. A little bit of depth there. And I'll just use a bit of yellow to give this a bit of a blend. Do is I'm going to use some of the greys. There's two types of grey with the Pro Markers and the brush markers. There's the cool greys and then there's the warm greys. The cool greys are kind of more bluey tones and the warm greys are more browny tones. So I'm going to be working with cool grey 4 for this one. So just to add the depth of shadow in. But because this is more of a bluey grey, it's going to work better with our purpley colours. So as you can see, that's going to give me a little bit more depth. This is with the fine point, and I'll go back with the chisel again in a minute. So really are great for just quick sketches, but also for more, longer pieces of work as well. And get some nice sweeping marks with this chisel. Really build up the depth in that middle of that flower. And then I'll just do a little bit on the actual leaf as well, so where that's coming out from under the flower. And really put some little bit of texture on my leaf as well. And again, chisel just to get a little bit more depth there. Okay, and I think I will use some of the grey in the centre of the flower as well, so I can add some darker marks to the centre of the flower and just start to really define that. Okay, and if I'd like to, I can then also add some highlights. I've got a little white line painter pen here to add some little highlights to the petal where the white parts are. You could use acrylic paint, you could use paint markers. White pencil works really well for this as well. And you can also work on top of this. So if some of these whites were a little bit too jarring, I can actually knock them back as well. So I'll show you that on this area here. I'm just going to pop some white parts to the centre of the flower. So maybe I've decided this dark part's too dark here. We'll just let that dry off. I'll do a little bit of fine lining while I wait. So fine liner helps your colours to really pop out, if that's the look you're going for. I don't actually mind this purple. I think I'm going to use it as a shadow in a minute. So I think we'll just quickly do some more fine line around these petals. Okay, so I'm working really quickly here. You would work much more slowly. Okay. And now that this white's dry, I'm going to pop some of my yellow on top of it. So that allows me to actually put lighter colours on top of dark. So that's a bit of a top tip, really. Okay, and then I'm just going to pop some shadow on. I'm going to use blue and the grey again. This is a nice sky blue. I'm just going to put some sort of shadowy bits underneath to really pop this out. A bit of backgroundy colour. And then I can the grey on top, and that will really help to bring these colours right out. And as the grey is a colour I'm using for shadow, it doesn't matter if I go over the top of my leaves or anything else, it just all will tie in really nicely together. You can get about 4 to 5 layers on, of varying depth of colour. So there we go.